Hi, hello, my name is Savannah. If you are new here, today is December 31st, the last day of 2020. This year has been chaotic. I filmed this video already. I had a plan this morning to go find a quiet spot in San Francisco to sit down and film, and turns out it's really hard to find. I'm just gonna wait for the plane to pass. As you could tell, there was a lot of wind, and I thought maybe if I hoped hard enough you wouldn't be able to hear it, but you definitely could. So I'm refilming it now, and hopefully this time you can actually hear me. Alright, so I'm just gonna start off by giving you a little brief on who I am and what Minerva is. I'm a first-year student at Minerva schools at KGI. I am studying abroad. I'm originally from Canada. Minerva is quite an interesting unconventional university in which you travel to a different city every semester. Obviously, attending Minerva during a global pandemic isn't the most ideal situation, but it is still mostly functioning the way it was before, and that's because the education is actually already online. So regardless of whether or not we would have had a pandemic, the academics are on the Online Active Learning Forum, which is a forum that was specifically designed to promote active learning. Minerva is based on a liberal arts education style, so our first year we don't have to pick a major. I'm currently located in San Francisco. The first year should be entirely in San Francisco, but then the following semesters are in different cities around the world. If you want to know more about it, I did make a video explaining Minerva. I'll link it up here if you want to have a look. Also, if you want to know how I got into Minerva, there's a playlist with all of my Minerva videos there. Alright, so I guess I can start with friends. So in my boarding school, it took me probably a full semester to really find my friends, and once I had found them I was very happy. I miss them a lot, but it did take still a pretty long time to find the people that really mattered to me, and I was super lucky with Minerva. My roommate is like honestly one of my closest friends. She's so sweet, and I am so grateful that I was put in a room with her. I feel super lucky. So I basically met a friend on my first day. Living with a friend is amazing. I also got really lucky in the sense that I met other friends very early on. Honestly, all of my really good friends I met pretty much within the first few days of being here. The fact that I've made such meaningful friendships so quickly is incredible. I guess on that note, I will talk about the actual student body. The thing is, because of the pandemic, not all of Minervans are in San Francisco. We were given the option before coming to study either remotely or in person. And while I opted for in person, there's over half of our class that did not. So in San Francisco for the first semester there were about 50 of us, and our class in total was 136, I believe. Since then, many people have dropped out. We've had over 20 dropouts / deferrals. I can't even imagine how tough it is to study remotely, especially when the academics are so challenging and you're not getting any of that social aspect of Minerva. It also meant that the people that are in San Francisco are a bit less diverse. They're not an accurate representation of the cohort, because those who actually came here are those who could get visas or those who could more easily access the United States. So the diversity of our class in San Francisco is not as great as our whole class. Thankfully though, going into second semester there are more people arriving. I know there's about, I want to say 15 to 20 new people arriving, so we will be more students. Still not perfect. I guess from here I can talk about the division of our cohort. Because of COVID, there has been a huge division between the in-person and remote students, and that breaks my heart. It's so difficult to integrate everybody into a class. We're very broken at the minute, and I hope that in future semesters we will be able to bond, but right now it's very difficult even to interact between the floors in the building, in the residence hall. I know far less people that are in the on the floor above than my floor, and that's because there's so few interactions, or far less than there should be in a normal year. So yeah, it's been tough to keep us united. In terms of the other ways COVID has impacted my experience, there have been quite a few changes. Unfortunately, many of the traditions and events that we would have usually had at Minerva have been either significantly changed or eliminated entirely. I try not to think about this too much because it does hurt to realize that this first semester and this first year I will never get back. But yeah, we've not had most of the events, most of the activities. It's been less interactive. There's less engagement with all of these events. I'd say maybe a quarter of the students actually attend, which is quite sad. 10 p.m. in PST is either the middle of the night or very early in the morning for most other places in the world. Minerva has put a significant amount of effort into keeping the traditions going and keeping the spirit up, but it's not their fault. It's just you can't create the same atmosphere on a computer than in person. In terms of the impact of COVID in San Francisco, it's actually been pretty decent. San Francisco has been doing really well for the most part. Honestly, it was doing better than most other places. People are really respectful. There haven't been too many troubles with that, and the safety procedures in the building are, I'd say, relatively good. So I felt pretty good overall, and it's nice. I feel very, very lucky to be able to interact with friends and have a, I'd say, pretty normal social life despite the pandemic. And that's, I think, one of the biggest advantages of being here, to isolate with cool people from around the world. I am very, very thankful that I'm here. Although I will say, I wish I could have gone home for December. I wish I could have seen my family. It's been a while and I miss them a lot. But I'm very, very grateful that I made the decision to come, because it has kept my mental health much better than I think it would have been if I was stuck doing the academics alone. Okay, now SF in terms of a city. I did not experience SF before the pandemic. I had never been to San Francisco. I have no idea what the city was like before COVID happened, but from what I've heard, it's much less lively. With that being said, it is still loud and there is still life. Clearly I couldn't find a spot to sit quietly the other day, so there's still things happening, but it's definitely not as alive. And honestly, I like it. I have found places in the city that I absolutely love, and I have also seen incredible things. I have really enjoyed exploring, especially over the past few days, because I did decide to stay in San Francisco for the December break, and I've gotten to explore different parts of SF that I hadn't gotten a chance to look at. So Chinatown, I kind of went back and we looked around and it was really nice, and I went to Golden Gate Park, which is a beautiful, large, like crazy huge park, and just sat in the sun, and there have been really beautiful moments that I've had in SF. So I don't think that the pandemic has ruined or changed like the enjoyment of my experience in San Francisco as a city. I still really like it. With that being said, I feel like SF is my home right now. I do feel it, but it's not a city I could see myself living in forever. I don't know how to put it into words, but it doesn't feel like my city. I feel like it's someone's city. It's not my city. And I appreciate every moment of being here, but I don't know. In terms of the neighborhood we live in, it is called the Tenderloin, and it's definitely not known to be the safest neighborhood. It's not known to be the best neighborhood. It has, or I guess San Francisco as a whole has a lot of poverty, and there's a huge wealth gap, which is very, very visible, especially in the Tenderloin. It's hard. Like, it's a very hard reality to be faced with, but I have learned a lot from being here, and I think it's a good thing that it is so obvious, because it means you can't ignore it. And I love that Minerva has put effort into integrating topics such as this one into our academic work. So we have had class pre-readings be about the Tenderloin even, and why there is so much poverty and why there's so much homelessness in this neighborhood. So it's been really interesting to learn about where we're living through our academics. I feared before coming that I would feel very unsafe. I have lived in Costa Rica for 2 years, so it's the kind of thing that I am kind of mostly used to. I'm used to catcalling. I'm used to not being able to walk alone as a woman. To be honest, it's pretty similar to what I've experienced with the past 2 years. So for me, it hasn't been horrible, only because I'm used to it. But I will say there is something much more threatening about being catcalled in a native language, because I felt that the catcalling in Costa Rica was quite distant. The words and the terms used felt very generic. In terms of how I've dealt with the academics myself, it's been up and down. I honestly have really enjoyed many aspects about the academics. I think that the creative liberty in terms of the topics in which we can do our assignments on is amazing. For example, I did a social science assignment on YouTube and virality of videos, why things go viral, and that's an emergent property. I have a video coming up very soon which was a weekend in my life, and I explained a couple of the assignments. So if you do want to hear an explanation of those, look out for that. I have another one too where I do many assignments in a very short period of time, and I do explain a few there as well. But overall, I've really enjoyed the pre-work as well. I've enjoyed the topics that we look at, not always, but mostly. The only thing I've had trouble with is the quantity. They're trying to make us go through so many units of material so quickly. There was a week where we had 6 assignments in 8 days, and they were big assignments, they were major assignments that were worth a lot. And I mean, I made it through, but oh boy, there were days where I could not find the motivation to do anything because it's so tiring and I got so burnt out. It's just a lot. It's a lot, and I know I signed up for it. I mean, I think the expectation of a lot of students in IB is that when you go to university, it'll be easy. But I honestly think I picked one of the universities where it's not easier. It's definitely harder. I don't mind because I do like the challenge. But there are times where I think it's a bit too much. I'm gonna leave it at that because there's not much more I can say. I guess I can move on from here to my mental health. Overall, it's been great, especially at the beginning of the semester. I felt so good. I had such meaningful people in my life. I was so happy. Honestly, I am still very happy. I feel very grateful. I feel very content with the position I'm in. That doesn't mean there aren't difficult days, but overall it's been really great. I think I've been pretty good at separating the learning and the enjoyment of the education from the actual grades I get. I think that's mostly because I worked really hard in the IB to separate myself from that and to still be proud of myself if I achieved not an ideal grade. Grades do and don't matter. I think they don't matter that much because at the end of the day, if you're learning and if you're enjoying it, that's more important. They're just a reflection of the process. For that reason, I am still pleased with the grades I'm getting, even if they're not perfect. I don't really care because I do feel like I'm being challenged, like I am growing, I am learning, and that's more important to me. On that note though, imposter syndrome is so present. People are so talented and so smart, and it's very difficult not to compare yourself. People come here and have already achieved so many crazy things. Like, why am I here? Why did they select me? Did they make a mistake? But I'm not the only one. I think almost everyone feels that way. Realizing that is very important. Everybody thinks that someone else is doing better than them, and it's okay. It's been hard to feel confident that I'm meant to be here, especially when your roommate is so smart. She's gonna kill me for saying that. She's so smart. I honestly admire her so much for being able to manage her time effectively. That is something I need to work on, and being in class with people who are saying such inspiring and cool things, it's tough, but it's also super cool. And I feel like I'm surrounded by so many incredible people, and I cannot wait to see where they go in life. I guess I can also talk about the adulting aspect. I've been independent for the past 2 years. I've lived away from home. I haven't been home since I was 16, and that's because I studied at a boarding school, but it is still more adult-like here. One thing I'm incredibly grateful for is the lack of cafeteria food. I have been enjoying cooking for myself so much, like so much. much. I can eat whatever I want, whenever I want. I don't have to eat arroz, frijoles y plátano every single day. I mean, maybe it's for some people. It did not suit me, nor my eating habits. Something I didn't talk about yet was the election. I was in the US for the election. That was a crazy time. I think the last thing I want to talk about are my plans for the upcoming semester and the upcoming year, what I want to do, how I want to improve, what I want to bring into the year, what I want to leave behind. One of the things I definitely want to achieve is to get a summer internship. I would really like something that kind of clarifies in my mind what I might and might not want to study. So I am going to look into marketing internships. It's interesting to me. I think the concept of being able to work for a brand that has meaningful values that I agree with, such as sustainability or diversity and inclusivity, being able to work for a brand and work on their marketing campaign, I feel like that's so fun. That to me sounds really exciting. So I'm gonna look into trying to get an internship in that field, see if I like it. And if I do, I'm thinking that I will double major in business and arts and humanities. After one semester being here, I realized how much I like arts and humanities. I think I've been denying it for a long time because I used to want to study medicine and I used to want to study international relations, and while I do like those things, I really like the arts a lot. That's sort of the direction I'm going in, or I think I'm gonna go in, and hopefully it works. And if I don't, then I know. That's great, isn't it? Because then I know I should study that. So that's my plan for the upcoming year. I think the major goal I have for 2020 is to balance my life a bit better. By balance, I mean to incorporate the things I love doing into what I need to do. The things I'm passionate about should be just as important as everything else. Actually, maybe even more. I want to be making regular content. I want to be reaching more people on YouTube. I want to be getting to know you guys and creating content that I love and that inspires me and anyone watching. I really, really, really enjoy creating videos, the process of filming, of editing, and I think saying it out loud is hopefully gonna keep me more accountable. Alright, I think that is it for today's video. I really hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, definitely leave a like below and subscribe if you haven't already. I hope you guys have had a very happy new year. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you next Wednesday. Bye.